What's up, y'all? Welcome in. I hope that you enjoyed today's show. The OG Queen is back. I hope y'all enjoy. Today's show is brought to you by Ave Explores. And if you like any second of it, please take the time to hit the like button and please subscribe. It would help us out so much. God bless. Enjoy the show. Greetings and salutations. Welcome into Forte Catholic. I'm Taylor Schroll, and I am welcomed. This is crazy.
What have you done with my friend?
So for the first time in many months, two things have happened. One, there is a person sitting next to me in the studio. We loosely call it a studio at my house where we record the show. Yeah. And there's a person here. I'm not looking at somebody on a computer screen. Yeah. I'm looking at someone in the person. Flesh. And if you have been a fan of the show for a while, you know this voice. We just haven't heard it in a while. After a 5-month hiatus, welcome back, Allison Sullivan.
No, has it been 5 months?
It has been 5 months.
Whoa. Wow, that's astounding. Well, I'm glad to be back, Taylor. Thanks for having me.
No, this is great. And
I don't know what to do with you not yelling at me, though.
I'll be yelling at you.
Okay, good.
Just not the intro at the listeners.
Okay,
I will
fine.
definitely be yelling at you at some point.
Bring it.
So, you're back. That's how we're starting the show.
I am back. I'm so glad to be back. It's been a while.
You
5 months, apparently.
Yeah. You disappeared on us. So we didn't know what was going on. No, you were missed. That's the first thing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I missed all of you, too. You know, you know how when you're experiencing something and when you're in the middle of it, I didn't have good language around what was happening in my spirit around COVID and quarantine, around these national headlines that were making me feel all sorts of things. I'm naturally an empath, just very empathetic. And so I absorb other people's pain, and other people were having so much pain. And the things that you normally do, you, the universal you, me, to take care of yourself, it was like none of them were working. And so I was, on top of all of the things that were going on in our nation and around the world, I was feeling anxious about not working. I was feeling anxious about thinking about having to work again. And then I was feeling anxious about those two things not making any sense. And I was all around feeling a lot of anxiety. And so it became really necessary for me to just pare down to the most essentials, which frankly was just hydrating my kids. If one more person asked me for water. So it was like, I just need to make my world as simple as possible. I quit doing my own show. I quit doing your show. I quit doing all of the things thinking that would help. I'm not certain that it did, to be honest.
Everyone that's hearing right now hears that you're completely healed.
Right, totally. But it was like I was just having extreme emotions about everything. I mean, I was like irrationally irritable. I was irrationally sad. I was irrationally anxious. And then I would, have these long conversations with my husband, and he's like, I'm not sure how irrational it is. We are in the middle of a global pandemic.
That's what I was about to tell you, too. I was like, I hope someone told you that wasn't the case. I think it's
But you know what it is? You know how if you're experiencing feelings, and I would look around at my life and everything's intact. I mean, my kids are healthy. I'm healthy. My husband's healthy. We have a paycheck coming in regularly. And so you would compare pain and say, what do I have to feel all these feelings about? And then somehow that made it worse, that I didn't feel like I even had a complaint. And so I don't know. It was just a lot going on all at the same time. And I appreciate your patience with me. You've been very patient.
Sure. So you know how early you
to my face.
Yeah, you literally started all of this by saying I didn't have the words to say how I was feeling in COVID. Right. I had the words, I just couldn't say them publicly.
Oh, like about me or about you?
No, about everything.
All the things.
All the words that I thought.
Yeah.
No one wanted to hear those words.
Yeah, and it was like all of our safety nets had been removed. I mean, the ways that we normally nurtured ourselves, whether it was church or even just a girls' night, even a date night with your husband, there are no babysitters. So it was like every single thing that I would do to take care of myself had been stripped away. And so I don't know. It does feel good to be back. It feels good to be slowly re-entering into some things. So thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you back. And I know that it's funny. Like people will reach out to me after shows, and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, my favorite co-host is Father Anthony. My favorite co-host is Lib. My favorite co-host is Allison. My favorite co-host is John. Everyone, like, it's so funny how everyone has a favorite co-host.
Yes.
And it's not like there's one, like, black sheep. Like there's everybody
Who's
has
getting
their
voted
favorite.
off the island?
Right, exactly. And so I know that, like, I'm glad you're back, but I know that there's at least 25% of the audience that's going to be very
I love
excited.
it. Thank you.
That you have
25%. And together we get it all done. We can become, we can do our best at being all things to all people with all of the people that you have around you. You've done a really good job of, selecting different people with different strengths. And
I just got really sad. You know why?
Why?
I just realized that if each of my 4 co-hosts have 25%,
where does that leave you?
Yeah, no one cares about me.
You bring us together. You're like the convergence. Is that a word?
It is a word. I just don't think you used it properly.
Don't bog me down with details right now. It's my first day back at work.
I was just listening to Malcolm Gladwell.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We've talked about Malcolm Gladwell. You haven't read him much, have you?
My husband has, and he obsessively talks about the things that he's reading, so I feel like I have.
Yeah. You would love Malcolm.
I've heard.
I've told you that a year ago, and you haven't done anything about it.
Well, social science. I mean, come on, it's right up my alley.
There's people who are like connectors and mavens, and I've been thinking about that.
Yeah.
And it's like I think I'm a little bit of both of those two things. Essentially, like the connector are people that just like connecting people, and then the maven is like. It's pretty similar, and like Malcolm explains it way better than I do. But essentially, it's like those are the people that can bring a team together.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I guess that's what I'm doing because no one listens to this show for me. They listen to it for the people that I get to talk to. And mostly, if they do listen for me, it's because they're bad people because they like me making fun of all the people that I bring together. So the only people that like me the best are the people who have the same ethics and spiritual life that I do.
I don't want to take your word on that. Like, I'd like to hear a little feedback.
Okay, if you're a bad person, make sure that you tell me in the comments.
I want to see some comments.
If you're a good and holy person, welcome Allison back.
Well, I am glad to be back, Taylor. I miss you so much. You're just one of my dearest friends, so I've missed this.
Yeah, it's good. What people like about you the most is your preaching.
Oh, dear.
People come on, and most of the feedback that I get is like, we love when Allison gets on her soapbox.
Yes.
And I prepared you for a preaching soapbox 12 hours ago.
A little bit, yeah.
I told you what we were going to be talking about. And one of them, do you want to do the Solomon one or the Ezekiel one?
I know nothing about either of those.
Good.
That is your soapbox, Taylor.
The one thing you said about coming back is you wanted to be prepared, and I'm glad that I prepared you.
And you prepared me, and I dropped those balls.
No. It's not your
fault. The
fault.
Ezekiel ball, the Solomon ball.
I went to the Solomon ball in 11th grade, actually.
What?
It was great. No, I didn't. Come on, welcome back.
BALL. Hey, you made up like a football sign that is being... to this day.
I don't know how you remember that.
I remember. I have a freakish memory. It's a blessing and a curse.
Oh, you're telling me. I know everything that I've said to everyone, and it's always in the front of my mind. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, my husband really regrets.
But yeah,
God made me that way.
10 years ago. It was 10 years ago, like 2 days ago. Like I just got it in my time hop where it was the first football game that my university ever played.
Wow.
We were undefeated for 120 years, and then we started a football program and lost the first game.
Yes.
It ended very quickly. But yeah, we had no traditions, and so I invented a sign, and they're still using it today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so who's to say that you didn't go to a Solomon ball? How could I know? You say like outrageous things, and then they're true. So what was the Solomon ball like? What'd you wear?
My date was hideous. It's not real, people. It's not real. Okay, let's talk about Ezekiel.
Okay.
Here's the thing. In college, actually, so right around the time that I went to this football game, I made it my point to finally read the Bible all the way through.
Okay.
So what I did was, I read at least one chapter of the New Testament every day and one chapter of the Old. And essentially, I went in order. So like I started with Matthew and Genesis. Yes, those are right.
Yeah.
So I started with.
Is that advisable? Did you just make that up?
It is not. What is not advisable is starting in Genesis and going all the way through. And
Right.
I'll tell you why in a second.
Yeah.
It is a lot of reading plans have I think the most popular reading plan has New Testament, a Psalm, and the Old Testament.
Sure.
Because there's like 150, and then like Protestants have 151. It's weird. I guess they just have an extra song.
Yeah.
Which seems pretty Protestant. Like their services, I think they sing lots of songs.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I just got that for the first time ever. So I'm reading this, and the reason it's not advisable to start in the Old Testament is the reason I also read a chapter of the New Testament every day.
Yes.
The Old Testament gets really sloggy there.
Yeah.
A few chapters
A little
in.
gory, a little intense.
Oh, I love those parts. It's the boring parts that I don't like.
Sure.
So like books like 4 through 60.
Yeah.
Not much going on.
Right. Yeah.
And I got to one of those
Leviticus.
books. Yeah. Ezekiel is one of the books. So
Okay.
here's the thing though. You finish the New Testament before you finish the Old.
Mm-hmm.
So then what do? You're kind of stuck. Now you're in the same thing. We were halfway through the Old Testament. And so what I did was I was like, I'm just going to slog through this. And I'm going to read 5 chapters a day of the Old Testament. Because it's more story-based. It's not as much like the New Testament. You could read 3 verses like during your prayer time, and that's all you pray with. Like the whole time.
Right.
The Old Testament, you could read 5 chapters and have nothing to pray with.
Yes. Thank you for that lineage.
So I got there, and I got like relatively halfway through the Old Testament. And then I was like, okay, I need to do these 5 chapters
You're
a
going
day.
to blow through Ezekiel.
Blowing through. I got to where there were 7 books left. I didn't finish the Bible.
Dunzo.
With 7 books left. And it's been that way for 10 years.
Okay.
So when I started praying and reading my Bible again after COVID, you and I... I had some troubles as well. It wasn't just you. So when I started again, I was like, okay, I'm going to pick back up where I left off a decade ago.
Okay.
And read these 6 to 7 books that most people have never heard of.
I'm just impressed that you knew where you left off. Again, really good memory.
Also, it's the beauty of reading your Bible on an iPad. Because the bookmark was still there.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
6 iPads later, my bookmark is still there in my Kindle. So I started reading it. And again, I'm reading like 2 to 3 chapters a day. And nothing.
Yeah.
And then I get to this one. And here's what it says in Ezekiel. If I was a good host, I would tell you the chapter and verse.
Okay.
When I bring the sword against a land, if the people of that land select one of their number as a sentinel for them, and the sentinel sees the sword coming against the land, he should blow the trumpet to warn the people. If they hear the trumpet, but they do not take the warning, and a sword attacks and kills them, their blood will be on their own heads. But if the guy doesn't blow the horn, it's on his head.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So Mulan is coming out this weekend.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, so like it's on Disney Plus, and they're kind of getting you. So if you subscribe to Disney Plus, you don't get it. But if you pay them $30 extra, you could watch it now, or you can wait like the rest of the world and watch it later whenever.
Wow.
Whenever the crazy people are done spending $30,
right? Yeah.
It'll come to the rest of us, right?
Okay.
So for me, it comes out in a few months.
Sure.
Right? Okay. So did you see Mulan, like the old one?
Sure.
Okay. So the Great Wall of China.
Yes.
China? Did I say China? The Great Wall of China. They, when the Mongols come, you said you have a great memory. We're testing it. The Mongols come into, let's see your Disney memory.
Yeah,
knowledge.
I know.
Were you watching this as a person, or were you watching it with kids?
Oh.
Like, did you watch it yourself? It was before you had kids.
Yeah, it was before I had kids.
Okay, so you were like actually watching the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Mongols come over.
Okay.
And whenever the people standing on the Great Wall of China, whenever they come over, what's that guard's job?
I don't know.
To
blow a trumpet.
No, but you know more about the Bible than Mulan, which to most people makes it a good thing. To me, I'm very disappointed in you.
Yeah.
But the Mongols come over.
Okay.
And the big bad guy is like killing all these people on the wall, and there's one guy left. And he grabs a torch and he puts it into this large. There's essentially there's towers all along the Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
Every 300 yards. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Where you can see, and he lights a fire, and then the next person 300 meters down lights a fire. The next- So literally, it lights up the whole Great Wall of China in minutes. And what he says is, now all of China will know that you are here. So there's this attack coming from this one part of the wall, and all the Mongols are coming over, and this like the guy gets killed, because like the last thing he does is light the fire. The bad guy kills him, but because of that, all of China knew that they were being invaded. Yeah. And at least the most recent guards knew where it came from because they can see where the fire starts and where it's kind of spreading from there. So that guy literally gave his life to tell everybody else that they're being invaded, because if that town doesn't know they're being invaded, they're going to be killed in their sleep. They're not even going to be able to put up a fight. Sure. Right? So we get to this passage, and I was thinking a lot about it, and I was just playing a game where there's Mongols, and it's a very similar thing where you just signal fire, and I was like, okay, like we are both of those things. We are the sentinels. Yeah. We're the guards. Yes. But we're also the villagers, depending on the relationship we have with different people. Yeah. And I just thought it was so crazy that we have like as like a village person, right? If you see that signal fire, it signifies there is danger, there is trouble. Yeah. Either run or put on your armor and get your sword and let's go fight, depending on who you are. Right. And then there's also, but like, if you see the fire and you don't leave, that's not on them. Yeah. We did our job here. Yeah. And as I'm processing everything you're saying, and you do this often. You will bring in something like from pop culture and make it spiritual. So I appreciate that. So didn't even plan on talking about Mulan.
I will watch Mulan differently now. Because I'm like, did they blow a trumpet? No, they sounded a gong. No, they lit a fire. Yeah. But so what are the fires that we're seeing? Like, what are the indicators now? Like today, what are the warning signs that are asking us to grab our swords? Now, I'm an unapologetic pacifist, so of course, to me, the sword is the word of God. But what are those indicators that says, "Hey, get ready"?
Yeah, and there is stuff going on. Like we talked about at the beginning, like you said, like literally as we started the show, there's so much going on in our country, in our own in personal lives because of everything that's going on. Yeah, and it's like there are certain fires that like you said, you're a pacifist. My like if that fire goes on, I'm getting my sword and I'm sprinting to the. You're like, I'm gonna run away, and like that's fine. Yeah, and because we all have our different roles to play, and where the metaphor breaks down is there are other things where you have been sprinting to the fire and I've been running away. Right?
Interesting.
And I think some of that is healthy, some of that is fear based, and that's not necessarily. Like my point now.
But a lot of that is assignment. I mean, I feel a holy assignment, and trust me, it's inconvenient. Right. I've paid a price. But it feels irresponsible and dangerous to ignore that assignment, more so than the pushback that comes from being obedient. So, I love it. And again, I mean, just to bring it back to your 4 very different co-hosts, together we can get it done, but I think we keep trying to be the Holy Spirit for one another. So as you race to go put a fire out and I retreat, I think that we are criticizing each other's assignments. We're trying to be the Holy Spirit for one another, and that's where all of the attacks come from inside the house, which is completely destructive.
Yeah, for sure.
As opposed to us loving one another and me encouraging you and you encouraging me with my own holy assignment and your holy assignment, and then having the people outside the wall say, "Hey, something different's going on in there." I mean, isn't that our job? Is to we're going to be known by our love. We know that. And so the idea is that people from the outside are looking in going, "I am intrigued. I am intrigued about what's going on in there." And that cannot happen while we're tearing each other apart for having different jobs.
Right. That would be like the Mongols coming over the fence. And then we all start fighting each other. And they're like, "Wait, I guess we win.
What just happened here?" Okay,
we don't have to risk
we're gonna go.
So I think like just to kind of wrap up, there's 2 things. One, if you feel a tugging on your heart to be a sentinel for somebody, either publicly or just like we do this as friends. It's like, hey, I see something going on in your life. Yeah. And it's odd or strange or not you. Yeah. If you feel like you have the urge to say that and you don't say that, it could be very much like not you being the sentinel, not lighting the fire, and then the invasion comes in, right?
It's good. We're the pointers for each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And we take turns in that within friendship, within relationships.
Yeah.
But also, the point that is actually being made in Ezekiel is for the people in town, where it's like, if you see these signal fires and just go about your daily business,
right.
like, you're going to die, and that's on you. And I think like
that masquerades as peace, by the way.
Yeah,
like, keep the peace. No, make the peace. Mm-hmm. And it might involve a battle.
Right, yeah. Like, the reason, just war theory. We go to war to make peace.
Right, wow.
But I mean, so it all comes down to, I mean, like, paring down to literally the individual, where it's like, this is what sin does. You see the signal, and you're like, you see the temptation, and it's like, that's the signal, that's the temptation.
Yeah.
Am I going to do anything about it? Because if you don't do anything about it, it's going to come get you. Right?
I love the idea. I'm sorry, I think we're out of time, but I love the idea, because I hadn't thought of it this way, of us being that sentinel for each other.
Right.
We're the pointers. It is my job to point you back to God. That's God. That's not God. That's God. That's not God. I love that. It's
well,
really
good. I'm glad you enjoyed our first segment back together.
Yay! Look at us.
Well, guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back here in just a second to tell you about my car experience. Some of you saw it on social media. Some of you didn't. None of you know the whole story. We're going to get into it here in just a second.
Including me. I'm excited.
The family is at the heart of society, and each family is unique and beautiful in its own way. Yes, even yours, the one that drives you crazy. But when we say family, we don't just mean two parents and a handful of children. Check out the next Avi Explores podcast series going on right now, which is all about Catholic family life, where the host and my friend Katie Prayshaw McGrady and many special guests explore the diversity and uniqueness of families, discuss how families are the first teachers of the faith, and the home is the first experience of the church. So they share how the family is critically important within the church and can profoundly impact the world. Head on over to the Ave Explores podcast to listen and subscribe today. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Allison Renee Sullivan.
Oh, I love that name, but it's not mine.
Isn't it nice?
It is. It is.
What? So I know you're...
We've talked about this 1,000,000,000 times. You just touted your excellent memory. This is
been 5
fantastic. This is fantastic.
I like Renee. I'm going to keep it. I don't care what your middle name is.
I'll take it and I'll answer to it. I answer to a lot. Ashley, Angela, what have you.
Angela, I can't see.
No?
I could totally
and
see
Ashley.
Ashley.
Okay, so I'm going to give you one hint about my middle name.
Renee. It's all I'm sticking with.
Ferris Bueller. No, nothing. Still.
Allison Dayoff Sullivan.
You're an idiot. Oh my gosh. No, his girlfriend. And I was...
Anna Faris.
What?
She's a person.
I know, but way too young. Okay, so I was really...
Her? You? Who?
Her! She's way too young to be in Ferris Bueller. Did they remake Ferris Bueller?
No.
Because that's not okay.
Let's start the segment now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, listen. Ferris Bueller had a girlfriend. I was really insecure about my middle name because it was weird. And then she had the name, and she was a brunette and gorgeous, and it's Sloane. Sloane Peterson.
So you're a natural brunette.
Yeah.
And you're blonde now.
Yeah, sort of.
She didn't inspire you that much.
Ago. Well,
I want to be just like her in no way at all.
I mean, for the love. That was
I'm going to replace my middle
years
name
ago.
with my maiden name, and then replace it. How many years have you been married? 20? 18?
15.
15. And then 15 years later, replace it with Renee.
Renee, and I'm a blonde Renee.
Blonde Renee. Ashley Renee. Okay, so something happened this weekend. Mm-hmm. I've been telling myself and many others, it's not like I was going around saying it, but people would ask, they're like, hey, your car's in bad shape. And I'm like, I'm aware. Yeah. No one knows this more than me.
You don't hear all the sounds it makes.
Right. So let's go back. February. Mm-hmm. Before COVID. A happy time.
Did it die at lights? Did your car die at lights?
I don't know what that means.
Die at a red light. When you stop at a red light, it dies.
Oh, no.
No. Okay.
It stayed on, But anytime I went more than 3 miles per hour, holding the steering wheel was like holding a shake weight.
It's a workout. Yeah.
Yeah. So those shake weights, you're supposed to hold them for like 15 seconds, and you'll turn from me into Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's what the commercials say.
Sure.
Right? I'm sure it's all true. But essentially, like I took a video like about a month ago of like me on Instagram holding the phone, and I'm just doing this. See that. It's just going crazy. So February, my car's like it makes noises and stuff, but it's driving fine. Like, and I'm like, it's like to the point where it's like, okay, I should probably get a new car. March was coming up. I had a lot of money supposedly coming in because I had all these events scheduled for March and April. It was going to be great. We were all
so busy.
And I was like, I think I'm finally going to be able to replace this car. And then COVID hit. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to drive this car until it dies because I can't afford to buy a car now because COVID hit and everybody lost money. Right. Fine. Then I'm driving in my car. And in about April or May, it went to the point where I was like, I was literally terrified to drive it.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I'm not going anywhere. The only place I was going was to the gym. That's the only place I'm going. It's not that far, but I have to go like 3-4 exits on the highway.
But, I mean,
and I'm doing the shake weight. So by the time I get to the gym, I'm exhausted.
Yes. Sore pectorials. Yes.
So, but it was like scary. And then I was like there was, I tried to avoid it at all costs, but there were like 2 or 3 times that I had my kids in the car over like the 6-month period. And I'm just scared the whole time.
Yeah.
Like,
Am
I putting them at risk? Am I putting myself at risk? It was just stressful, but there's nothing I could do about it.
Right.
And then I was like, I'm just going to drive it till it dies. And that way.
What is the car? What's its actual make and model?
It was a Mazda Protege 5 2002.
Mazda Protege. Okay.
So it's older than all the students that I work with at our local Catholic school.
Yes.
Which is the first signal. That was the first signal fire from the Great Wall of China that I got that it was time to get a new car.
And Protege Heaven has been beckoning.
Oh, yeah.
It just needs to turn to the light.
I think like it's like one of those things, you know how like some families like family names end up dying, right?
Yes.
Where it's like, some families don't have boys or they have boys and they all join the priesthood or something like that, right?
Sure.
The family name dies. I think the for 2002 Mazda Protege 5s, it was like the whole family was in heaven, and they're just waiting on the last one. They're like, just let go, come see us, and I made her stay for 6 more months longer than she should have.
Yeah.
So I drive out to. I mentioned, I think last week and the week before that, I'm coaching our local football team at the Catholic school that I've been working with for years. But football is new, so I drive out to our football complex, which is out in the middle of nowhere, and it's fine. I do my shake weight on the way out there, and I'm driving out. Car turns on. I pull out of the complex onto the highway. It just shuts off.
Oh, yes.
And I did just started, so I was maybe going like 50 miles an hour. So I had just enough miles per hour on a downhill
to coast
to pull it onto the side of the road, right? So I get onto the shoulder. I call the only 2 people left of the complex are me and the head coach. I call him. I'm like, hey, can you come? Essentially try to give me a jump. It wasn't the battery. Like I knew it was the motor.
No.
But we tried to jump it just in case, just to get it off the road at least to get it home.
Yes.
Doesn't work. He takes me home. I call my car guy, and he's like, hey, you need to call the what is it called? The junkyard people.
Yes.
And they'll come get it. I said, okay. So I call the junkyard people. I tell them where it is. This is the funny part. I looked up my car on Kelley Blue Book.
Oh, wow. I'm dying to
February.
know. Yes.
I'm going to let you guess. I know you're not a car person.
No.
I'm going to let you guess, though. How much do you think, like if I was going to sell you that car in February, you'd never buy it. But if I was going to sell you that car, what was the Kelley Blue Book suggested price?
No, they would charge you for the inconvenience.
Pretty close. $300. $300. It gets worse. I promise you it gets worse. So the car is worth $300. Which essentially what I was saying for 6 months is that my life is not worth more than $300.
Right.
Because it was scary.
Yeah.
The other funny thing is I call the people and they're like, how much are you looking to get for it? And I was like, in my head, I'm like, I just want it gone. Like,
yeah.
But they're like, is the bumper fine? I'm like, sure.
I suppose.
And they're like, well, we'll give you $225 for the bumper.
Wow.
So they come out and they tow it for free to me.
Yes.
they're going to give me $225, which also means that car working is only worth $75.
You were driving around a bumper. Oh my gosh.
So it's $75. So that's essentially where the car died. So that was Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I've never done this. Here's what I heard in order from the car guy. We will come pick it up. Go bring the title of the car to your car shop. Like that's who referred me.
Yes.
And then they'll give you the $225.
Okay.
So in my mind, the thing was they will pick it up. And then drop off the money to my, I thought what they're doing is they're picking it up and dropping off the money.
Yeah.
From my people. I would then bring the title and pick up the money in one trip.
Okay.
I was wrong. And now that I've thought about it, of course they need the title if they're taking the car. They're not going to demolish a car they don't have the title for because that's a lawsuit. Now it makes sense, but that's not the order that he told it to me.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for it to be picked up. I'm driving by this car every day because I'm going to football practice. So I know it's still there. They haven't picked it up.
There
so
it is. Yeah.
So I'm not going to pick up the money.
Right.
Because it hadn't been picked up. Okay.
Sure.
So
gotcha.
I'm playing video games with our friend and co-host, Father Anthony Sharapa.
Yes.
I'm playing video games with him on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
At 10:30, I get 2 phone calls in a row, which
at
10:30 at night, I started going. I was like, my whole family's here. They're all asleep. I know they're here. So I actually went to go check on them. I was like, did someone run away?
Yeah.
Because I know it's the cops. No one else is going to call other than the cops at 10:30 unless it's a prank call. It's the cops or a prank call.
Gosh.
So I go check on my family. They're all still here and still sleeping.
Yeah.
I'd seen them an hour ago. So what could happen in an hour? And then I'm like, okay, my family members it's a 979 number, but it was a Brian number. 979 is also my hometown, which is weird. But it was a Brian number. So I knew it wasn't like my family, like my parents and sisters in trouble. And then I was like, maybe there are 2 people here that I'm like their local. Like 2 people where they're young adults and their parents live somewhere else, but I'm close with both families. Maybe I'm their emergency contact. So I call them back.
Yeah.
And they're I'm in the middle of a video game with Father Anthony, so I can't pause it like it's an online game. But I know it's the police, so I call them back. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, hello, and I get the dispatch number. Like I'm calling to turn in a.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Robbed,
yeah, right.
They're like, hello, sir, what can I help you with? I'm like, someone just called me. Who is this?
Yeah.
No, I text them first. I'm like, who is this? In case it's a prank call. And they're like, this is Brazos
BPD.
County Dispatch. So I call them. Still, they're like, they don't recognize the number, I guess. So they're like, what's your emergency? I'm like, you called me,
Yeah.
So I talked to them, and they're like, sir, do you know where your car is? I'm like, yep.
Indeed I do.
Probably where I left it. Because, and actually I know it's there because it can't move. So they're like, I was like, okay, I called them yesterday. They were supposed to come yesterday, and I guess they didn't come. And this was Friday. It was Friday night. I think I said Thursday. This was Friday night. So it's the last day of
we had lunch the day before this was all supposed to go down.
Yeah. So this is all the work week.
Yes.
I think that lunch was the last thing that I drove to and got home from. Because the next thing I drove to was football practice, and I didn't come home. You were the last successful trip. No.
You already had your van. You already had the van.
I was in the van. So, the comps call me. They're like, because I know that it's like illegal. Like they'll tag it and it's illegal. They'll tow it if a car's broken down for too long.
Yeah.
I thought the car had been picked up a day before. Right. And they're like, yeah, it's still there. So then they call me again Saturday. I'm like, yes, I'm aware it's still there. Are you aware it's Saturday? Like, I can't do anything about it. They're closed. Right?
Yeah, right.
So they're like, okay, well, if it's not picked up Monday, then we're going to tow it. So I call the people back, and they're like, hey, dummy, bring the title first. I'm like, oh. So I go and I bring the title.
You're not born knowing these things.
Yeah, but I'm born with a brain, and it makes sense. They're not going to crush a car that they don't own. I get it. I get it. Okay, so finally they get the car. It's fine. I called my parents after it happened. Because we had been talking about me getting a new car, like I said, back before COVID had hit.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I eventually I need it.
You've been in the market.
Right. On Thursday, I applied for a car loan. first like loan I've ever applied for, other than like house and like student loans. You don't really apply for, I guess.
Right.
They just give them to you because they want your money forever.
Yes. And ever.
So, well, this is the second loan I've ever applied for. I applied for one like 5 years ago, and I got rejected because I was still young and in ministry and had no money to my name. So they're like, we're not giving you money. I'm like, it would help. And they're like, no. So I applied for the loan. I start looking for cars. My whole family gets involved. So my dad's looking for cars. My mom's looking for cars. My sister's looking for cars. Like, hey, try Carvana. I'm like, I'm on Auto Trader. She's like, do Carvana. I'm like, okay, fine. So we're all looking. We find this car. I was looking for an SUV because like my favorite car I've ever had personally was an SUV. And my parents found one. My dad found one. He liked it. It had like great safety reviews, and it was 2009. I was looking for like 2012 just for safety, so I don't have to replace it again soon. I've lived in the car shop, just trying to avoid those things. But it was a lot cheaper to go 2009, and this one actually looked like it was like one of those things that was like kind of top of the line in 2009.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't like the stock one. So we go to look at it. I drive an hour and a half to get there. No, I don't drive. My friend drives me because I don't have a car.
Yes.
Right. But we're thinking that I'm going to drive this car that we're buying back. So that would make sense. My parents drive up an hour.
Sure.
They drive home an hour. It's a whole ordeal for everybody.
Yes.
We get to the car place. And this car that looked tremendous on paper.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Really?
It was rusted on the whole, like it was from up north, like in Michigan, to where they put salt because of snow or something that we don't. I'm not born knowing these things because I was born in Texas, but there's salt all over it, and it was like one of those things. Where it's like I could drive this, but I wouldn't be happy in it.
Right. Yeah.
And like none of us really felt good about it. I didn't feel great about it, but it was like awkward because my parents were like, "Hey, you're gonna."
Because you're all there. I mean, when's that gonna happen again?
Right. And like they're because of COVID, they know that I couldn't afford buying a new car, so they're giving me an interest-free loan. Thanks, parents. That's a huge blessing, right? Yeah. But we're there, and then so it got awkward too because I'm like, I don't love this car, but you're also buying it,
right?
So it's just like this awkward thing. But like my mom wasn't happy about it. My dad wasn't happy about it. I looked at it. I was like, yeah, I don't really feel comfortable. I finally was like, I don't feel comfortable getting this. Yeah. And so we're about to leave, which means I have to call back my friend who drove me there. He's so generous, right? He drives me there at 9 o'clock in the morning.
How far are you?
Yeah. I told him there's a possibility, but I'm about to have to call him back. My dad, the last ditch effort, looks at the guy and says, we're not really happy with this. Is there anything else that you have? For around this price. Yeah. And he goes, sure, that one. And he points at this beautiful red car.
The one in the driveway?
Yes!
Oh my gosh.
Brand new. It's right in front of us. Like we park the car that wasn't on the crate. We park it. He's like, yeah, that one. Same price. It was
what in the world?
2009. So same year, it had half the miles. It's a 2009 that only has 55,000 miles on it.
Come on.
That's
it's just not an SUV.
Right. Yeah, it's just not an SUV, but it's good. Like I've actually only ever had one SUV. This is my third car.
Right.
And so like we get in it, it's gorgeous. Like I mean like the other one was like, you're pretty stock. Like it has the miles per hour and like an AM rating, and that's it. This one is pristine on the inside. Like it has all these cool fancy lights, and it's got a great like navigation system. Yeah. It's got all the.
So that's like a really expensive third row. I mean, was like.
So we get in the car, and the other car, like when I drove it, like I couldn't, like I pushed on the gas to like get on the highway, and it was like, I don't wanna.
Don't make me. Yeah. Please don't make me.
Which is kind of like the car that I just had.
Yeah, we've been there.
We get in, so it's a red 2009 Toyota Prius. It's a hybrid. I've never driven a hybrid before. Mm-hmm. And I get in, and I'm like, is this going to feel like the other one did because it wasn't as strong? I get in this hybrid car. I'm like flying down the
highway. My gosh. I'm so glad.
Oh, man. So, like, and then he's like, are you serious? Like, there's no way this is the same price. You must be making a mistake. And he's like, nope, that's the price. It's like it was like $100 more, which is nothing when you're buying
of course,
a car, right?
No, yeah.
You're already in the hole.
Wow, have you named her?
I haven't.
Lola.
Renee.
She's a showgirl.
Her name's going to be Renee.
Renee.
Because she's red, like red Renee.
Yeah, I like it.
That'd be great.
Okay, there you go.
She's not a brunette, but that doesn't seem to matter to you as much as you thought it did.
No, that's totally versatile. That can change in a blink.
So here's what was crazy is like we went for one other car, and we all thought that was the car that was going to be right for me. We got there, and it wasn't. And like, here's the like, this kind of thing doesn't happen to me. Like most other Catholic speakers or radio shows, they're like, yes, God spoke to me today. I'm like, he's been very quiet for many years.
He is not explaining himself over lunch right now.
I am Forte. He is very piano. But like, I mean, talk about God's providence. Literally, it was the dealership we went to, which was so far for all of us. We went for this other car. This car that I have that I love. I was driving 80 miles an hour on the way back.
Yeah.
Getting 60 miles a gallon. It's insane. For as much as I like travel, like when the world opens up again, I'm going to be traveling again. Yeah. I'm going to spend like $12 a month on gas. It's going to save me money in the long run. It's just a beautiful car.
I'm
It
so
feels
happy
great.
for you.
I
That's
love
great.
it. And all in God's providence. He knew that car was going to be there.
Yes.
He knew that it was going to be the car that I happened to park in front of whenever we were done with our... Like, I mean, that stuff doesn't happen to me.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have chosen it. You had to be lured there by what you thought you wanted, and then he had to kind of bait and switch.
I'm like a dumb fish. I'm like, hey, look! That dead crab seems to be floating in the middle of the water. I'm going to go bite it. And I did. And I was the dumb fish. I forgot if I was the fish or the crab for a second. I'm the fish, I think. I was the dumb fish that went to go eat the thing, and I got baited, and they're like, he took me out of the water, and then he threw me back in, and when he threw me back in, there was a 2009 red Toyota Prius.
Named Renee.
Named Renee.
What a beauty.
So, talk about God's providence. I mean, like, my parents being very generous to give me that no-interest loan, and, like, finding the car. It was just one of those, like...
It's so great.
Okay, God.
What a relief.
You're cool, I guess.
Yes, and then Protege is resting peacefully.
Finally went to heaven
with her family.
So that's how God worked in my life this week. And that is not a sentence I usually say on this show. And I want it to go down to the record that I said it.
In the record books.
I said what Catholic radio show hosts are supposed to do.
Well, we should just stop there.
We are. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. After a brief hiatus, I am back to streaming on Twitch. Twitch.tv/ForteCat. Yes, we changed the name. ForteCat. Go over and come hang out with us. We have so much fun. Myself, a lot of times people from around the show, guests, co-hosts, will hop in. We're playing Fortnite. We're playing Siege. We're playing Fall Guys. Whether you love games or not as much, come hang out with us. We have an absolute blast with people who love games. And even those who don't, who aren't gamers themselves. So twitch.tv/ForteCat, and I hope to see you guys soon. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am still Taylor Schroll. That is still Allison Sullivan. Yes, she is back, and we're all very happy. We're going to talk about the Bible again. We're talking about the Bible twice.
Lots of scripture.
Boy, okay.
Where am I?
You're in the water closet, remember?
No yelling.
Okay, so... I was, again, in this whole reading the Bible thing the other day.
Okay.
And as I was reading the Bible, Solomon came up. And then I was listening to my favorite Catholic podcast, Forte Catholic. I'm just kidding. The Catholic Guy Show. I like how funny that was to you. I'm a little offended how funny my joke was. So I was listening to the Catholic Guy Show. He's who I emulate. He's great. And they were doing this game, and they were talking about Solomon and wisdom, and it was just, I forget what it was. It was like, who would you rather want in like a pub trivia game? And it was like Solomon or Thomas Aquinas or somebody stupid. Like, I mean, the third answer was stupid.
Okay.
But it was like, do you want somebody with a lot of knowledge, like Thomas Aquinas, or wisdom?
Yeah.
And I'm at the time I'm listening to this in my headphones on my roof because there's a hurricane supposedly coming, and I'm sweeping things off of my roof to like clear out my gutters. So strange time to get an idea for the show. I just wanted to give you all the mental picture of where I prep for the show.
Right,
on my
nice.
roof like a crazy person. Okay, so they're talking about Solomon and his wisdom, and one thing that's always bothered me about Solomon, and I've talked about it before, but not quite with this lens on, is that the Bible says that Solomon is the wisest person ever. The part that I always forget, and this is the part that I heard while standing on my roof, maybe because I was closer to God standing on my roof, I got this insight, right? But not only did God say that Solomon was the wisest person ever to that point, he said, and there will never be anyone as wise as him. And like, so here are the things that Solomon is known for. He's known for being David's son. He's known for getting wisdom.
Yeah.
He's known for having slept with 900 women and he's known for, because of his leadership, splitting Israel and Judah, and like they never become a nation again. Like God's people have been this, it started out with 2 people, and then the family, and then the tribe. And if you've studied the covenants, like it just continues to grow to this great nation, and the nation begins to crumble under the guidance of the wisest person. God has said, the wisest person that has ever lived.
Yeah.
Is that strange, or am I crazy?
Right. Yeah. There seems something irreconcilable. Huh. So you don't have any answers to that?
Here's but I don't have answers to why, but here was my thought, is Solomon was given a tremendous gift. He asked for a gift and was given that gift.
Yes.
And upon receiving that gift at the beginning, he used it well. And then he used his wisdom to build up himself.
Yes.
He used that gift
Yes.
to do whatever he wanted.
Yes.
I forget the exact numbers, but like 300 wives, 400 concubines, and 300 other women, or whatever. Like he, all just pleasure for himself.
Yeah.
And he didn't use his wisdom to guide the country, the nation, whatever you want to say, the nation, and it fell apart under his guidance.
Yeah.
So obviously, like he like God's like, you asked for the perfect thing. You asked for wisdom. That's what a leader needs. And he just squandered it. Yeah. And everything fell apart. And it bothers me.
So, you know what this reminds me right now of Fish and Loaves. So, Fish and Loaves, as it turns out, is the only miracle story repeated in all 4 Gospels besides the resurrection.
I was about to say, everyone says that, and I'm like, Jesus didn't stay dead in one Gospel.
But if the multiplication of fish and loaves is going to be repeated 4 times, obviously the gospel writers and therefore the Holy Spirit thought that there's something that people really need to hear about this. What is it? And so if you take this little boy on some hillside in Galilee who, I don't know, went fishing that morning and grabbed some, loaves of bread, whatever. But he's now sitting at a teaching and everyone's hungry. That maybe they've been there so long, I don't know, but people are hungry and he looks down at what he has. And I'm sure that he probably thought for a moment, this isn't enough. What does it matter? So what that I have this? But he did what he was called to do, which is turn that over to the Lord to let God do what God does. So I think our tendency when we look down and when we don't think we have enough, it's to hoard, it's to grasp, it's to glorify ourselves. I need to keep this for me and mine. And so if this miracle story is going to be repeated 4 times, I think the real lesson is that you are messing in Messiah Matters when you start concentrating on the how.
That's a podcast name, Messing in Messiah Matters. That's great branding.
Well, good. Well, let's do something with that, Taylor. There's our holy assignment. But you start messing in Messiah Matters when you start thinking about the how. It doesn't matter the how. Your job is the what, and the what is turning this gift that you've been given over to the Lord to let him do what he's going to do with it. When you start thinking that it's not enough, when you look down at in your lap with what you've been given, and when you turn your nose up at it and say it's not enough, I don't like it, I want her gifts instead. And so then you keep it hidden, or you keep it to glorify yourself. You try to, misbehave, frankly. You're misbehaving. What we're called to do is turn it over. And then we find, miracle of all miracles, that we never have enough unless we give it away. It is to be given away. And so when we use our gifts to glorify God and to serve people around us, that's when the miracles happen.
And here's what's crazy about juxtaposing those 2 stories. Which gift is the greatest? It's not even close. Solomon's wisdom is greater than whatever.
Right.
Like bread and fish.
Sure.
Right? It's not even close which gift is more powerful, better, could do more. Ultimately, if both were given to God, right? And I think the reason that a lot of people, myself included, hold back using all of our gifts is because we see people with better gifts.
Absolutely.
It's like
someone's already doing
people
that.
People can look at me and be like, why be a Catholic speaker or podcaster? Taylor's
when
already got it mastered.
Taylor around.
Right. But we can all look and be like, I'm not as good at service as that person, so why even serve? I'm not as good at sharing my faith as that person, so why even try? And these 2 stories, even if somebody's better at using a gift, it could be a Solomon situation. Right. They have the better natural talent or natural inclination or natural ability, but if they're not going to use it, who's the better who do we look upon with in a better light?
Right.
The little kid with the gift that was almost nothing in comparison.
Yeah.
And he's the one that he gave his little gift, and God did his thing with it, and he's remembered so much more fondly than Solomon.
Of course.
Not to the point that we know his name, but still know him very fondly.
I sure wish that sweetheart had a name.
His name was Renee. Male version of Renee.
They have those. They make those.
I know.
Yeah.
They make those in a factory. If your name is Renee, Allison thinks you were built in a factory.
It was multiplied so much when that little boy Renee turned over. I love that we just named him Renee. That I will never forget that. Yeah. Okay. Record books. But when he turns it over, everyone, we know that they have eaten till satisfaction, and we also know that it's left over. And so we know the scripture tells us that there's 12 baskets left over. So what happened to those baskets? Who knows? It doesn't say.
Jesus sold them for a profit. PROPHET.
I know. Yes, I was with you on that, Taylor. But sorry. Okay, but there's 12 baskets, and so you could. So what happened? Who knows? I mean, did he give one to each disciple? I mean, we know that 12 is a really significant number. But what's fun for me to think about is that I bet he loaded that little boy up. I bet I can
that's cool.
I can just picture him sending Renee back to his village. Here, he will never be outdone
and
in
Renee's
generosity.
Mom, Susan, would be so mad at Renee because she would have thought he stole all that.
It's like, I've got a story you won't believe. But
Judas is in the corner. Why are you giving it all to Renee?
You know what I think one of our biggest problems are, though, is that we get so fixed on outcomes. This is what it's supposed to look like. This is what the miracle is supposed to look like. And so we start clamoring for what? Comfort, safety, adoration, fame. I don't know. I don't know what people's idols are. But we look at our gifts and we say, oh, it's not enough to get me this thing that I'm certain that I want and need. And so then if it can't do that, if it can't get to this fixed outcome, then forget it. It's either not good enough, I'm going to hide it, I'm going to just glorify myself since I can't trust God to do it.
So who do you want to be more like, people? Solomon or Renee?
Renee, all the way.
Or Susan. I'll leave that as an option. But if any of you pick Susan, you're a crazy person. I mean, it always connects. Anytime we talk about gifts and using gifts, it all comes back to like the body of Christ, right? Where it's like if you ever could you imagine? Like I just imagined myself trying to walk. Like when I didn't have control of like my abdomen. So like my legs and my arms, my head are all doing the right thing. Yeah. But my abs are just like, meh. So my body's like slouched over and falling.
I have a really disturbing mental image of that.
Oh, me too. Or like, even the little simple things. Like I go to try to open my new car door and my whole body's doing the right thing. And then my elbow's just like, nah, I'm not going to do it. So I'm trying to like pull my arm up and my elbow is just like flailing, right?
You're so weird.
I know. Welcome back. So like, but like, it's the little thing. It's like, oh, you might not think the elbow is important or the abdomen's not the most important for these activities. But if the abdomen doesn't do its job, you get the mental image you just got.
Yeah.
If my elbow doesn't work, I look like the fish or crab that I was in the last segment.
And so this story, written 4 different times, tells us that Jesus rejects those lies and that we need to do it too.
Does he reject crabs and Susan as well?
No, he loves them all.
He loves them all. So that's what I have about gifts, and we have 2 minutes left.
Any final dear, words from you, Ms. 2 minutes. Okay, we've named your car. No, I don't have anything.
You don't have anything?
No.
Okay. Well, you can connect with me on social media at Taylor Schroll on Instagram and Twitter at Forte Catholic. Also on Twitter, you can connect with Miss Sullivan at Allison Sully. On everything, or is it Sullivan on some things?
I mean, Facebook is Allison Sullivan.
Okay.
But
Allison
M. Sully on all the other things. And be nice to me on Twitter. I hate Twitter. Jeez.
I am nice to you on Twitter.
Mostly. It's fine.
You might be one of the only 2 people I'm nice to on Twitter.
Oh, good. Yay. No, I neglect Twitter. I neglect it completely.
All things Forte Catholic, FORTE Catholic.com. one of the things that we've been doing this entire show has been on YouTube. It's too late now if you're listening on the radio or listening on podcasts. But do me a favor. We're trying to build up the community over there. YouTube.com/Forte Catholic. If you want one of these nice Forte Catholic shirts that I'm
I should
wearing.
have worn my shirt. I love that
We
shirt.
could have been twinsies.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
ForteCatholic.com/store. Here's how we'll close the show. Our show notes, because you wanted to be prepared. You texted me very late last night. I texted you back very late last night, and I texted you my notes, and all I did was copy and paste those notes and put them in a document sitting on my iPad right in front of me. The first note is my reply to your text, which is we were supposed to apparently start the show with 11:30 is fine.
11:30 is fine.
On the way.
I got all messed up trying to read my lines.
So the first line of my notes is always hilarious. We didn't start the show there.
Hey, I drove to your house in one flail swoop today. I did not have
to. That's our show. I'm Taylor Schroll. That's Allison Sullivan. I'll be back next week. Say it.